Today, my guest is Ana Inés Urrutia de Souza. She is a Dynamics 365 Human Resources Practice Lead at Axazure and a Microsoft Business Applications MVP. And on top of all of that, she's a pilot or working towards her license, which I'm really looking forward to hearing more about. So thank you for joining me today, Ana.
Thank you very much for the invite. I'm really pleased to be here and to share a bit more about something that is not usually shared in my sessions or my blog posts. So thank you very much for the invite.
So for people who haven't met you, can you talk a bit about where you're from, who you are, and what you do?
Yes, of course. So I'm Ana Inés Urrutia, as you said before, Urrutia de Souza. You can use both last names. And I am originally from Uruguay, South America. So I come from a country that is really tiny, and it's between Argentina and Brazil. And we don't have anything very, remarkable. The only thing that we have is that there are more cows than people in the country. So we are 3 million people, and I think there are 12 million cows or something like that. So It's really, we live from that. And I'm originally from there. I lived in Peru and now I'm here in Spain. And what were the questions? Who I am?
What's more about you, or what is it you do?
Okay, so that's a very open question. People usually tend to answer that question in terms of work. So I'm gonna go with the flow and I'm gonna answer it that way. But as you said in the intro, I'm a Dynamic 365 HR lead, practice lead in a company here in Spain called Axazure. And I consider myself just that's my part, like the part of my work life. But I also consider myself as an amateur photographer. I really like to take pictures. It's something that I really enjoyed my entire life. And I take with my phone and with an analog camera. So I like to consider myself as an amateur photographer and as a future pilot because I'm working towards. And I do also like to define myself, and I started this when the pandemic started. I like to say that I'm a cheerleader for almost everything. And that means that I'm always trying to be really nice and supporting to my surroundings, but not from everything. I have some boundaries, so it's not everything, but most everything, almost everything. So yeah, that's who I am.
Wow. So talk a bit about how did you decide that you wanted to fly an airplane, right? That's not something everybody does. How did you get into that interest area?
It was really interesting because if I think about how I made the decision, it was a combination of my heritage, my family, my father always wanted to be a pilot, and he couldn't because of some problems in her vision. That's okay.
Yeah, vision,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So, and he passed away a lot of years ago, and I never thought about it as something that I wanted to do. And one night we were having a conversation with the community people, and this is really this is a true story. We were having a gathering, a virtual gathering, and sharing things, and there was a guy in the group that asks for everyone out there, that we were about 20 people, and he asks, please, I would like to know 3 things that you would like to do before you pass away, before you die. And everyone was everyone was a bit drunk. So we were thinking about it. And, when you get to start, something moved me, and I noted down and I listed 3 things. And the first one was to learn to play drums. They were a bit for my lifestyle, I don't have much, this is my first home here in Spain. I have my own furniture, but as of that date, I didn't have anything but just my clothes, and that's it. So I couldn't have drums in my place. So I said, this is good, but not for now. The second one was falling in love. But that is not something that you choose. It's something that chooses you. So it was okay, I want to do this, but it's something that I cannot control. And the third one was flying a plane. And I realized that it was doable. I was able to do it if I just, stood out there and find the right information and the right school. And I did after that day, I did all the research, all the medical appointments. They're a pain. You need to do a lot of stuff. And I started flying. So that's how I got here.
So, I mean, what's that? I mean, talk a bit about that process, right? You said there's some things you had to figure out. There's the medical part I would never thought of. Like, yes. I don't know why, I guess just to make sure you don't die while you're flying, right? And then the airplane crashes. How does that work? I mean, what is involved in getting into flying?
So the first thing that you need to pass before, because you as a student, you need like a permission to fly. And just because I don't know how it's called, the force that controls it's not the Air Force, I don't know what is it, but they just need to be aware who's flying in the territory. So they need to be sure that you're okay. So the first thing is you get enrolled in a school and they assess you. they give you some insights or where to go and what are the steps you need to follow. But it starts with a medical appointment. It's not one only, I wish it was one, but there are plenty of medical appointments. And you have from the very basics, like measuring weight and so on. And then you have some blood exams. And you have a psychologist, of course, and it's funny because I'm a psychologist, and it's like, okay, we're cheating each other. I know the answers, I know it. So. And the worst one, I think the ears as well.
Yeah.
And your mouth. I mean, the dental, you need to be. There are some problems that you can have with altitude and the pressurization, presurización in Spanish. I don't know how you say it in English, but if you have any damage in your teeth when you get up like high in this in a proper altitude, it could give you some pain and it could be difficult. So you need to make sure that all your teeth are okay. And then you have another medical appointment that is about reflection. So you need to answer really fast to some. They have like lights and buttons, and you need to push them in your feet as well. So it's like very annoying. You need to be very aware of everything. And the one that I really, it was a nightmare for me. It was the one, I don't even know how you say this in English, but you need to stay awake for 24 hours.
Okay.
And then they put you some things here in your head, and they want to make sure you don't have a tendency to epilepsy.
Oh yeah, epilepsy. Yep.
Okay, so they want to make sure, because if you do have some tendency to that, it doesn't matter if you never have it, if you've never had it before. It's just if you do have like that, that tiny potential, gap on having it, you won't fly. So you need to stay awake for 24 hours, and that was terrible. Like, I'm not 20 anymore. I can't do it. But yeah, it's a pretty, and because they're not like all in one day. You need to go one day and then another, and
right.
And the 24 hours you need, of course, to prepare it up front, for another day. And the thing is that they're like little like tests you need to go through, like little steps, and you realize, what if I don't make it? Like, I'm all in for this. I want to fly. What if I don't make it? So yeah, it's kind of a challenge, but it helped me a lot to manage my anxiety.
Wow. So now that you are flying, I've seen your videos on Twitter, which I thought were great. What is that like for you? You're achieving it, right? You haven't got the license yet, so you can do it by yourself, but you're up there and you're flying. What is that like?
Well, it's fantastic. I don't drive cars. I'm really terrified of the speed in the ground. So I can't do it. It's something that I've never, it's like having kids. I know I'm not gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna drive a car yet. But the thing about flying is that I don't know about you, but I'm a very anxious person and I'm overthinking a lot. And this world we live in and the jobs we have and this social media and everything, it like makes you feel overwhelmed a lot. And flying, you cannot think about anything else than keeping the plane flying. So it's like I don't have time. I can't think about Instagram, Twitter, or my appointment with my boss a couple of hours before that, because sorry, after that, I cannot think about it. I need to stay like this plane stabilized and then landed, of course. And yeah, it just gives you like a power, or it's not, I don't know, it made me like, I think it was the first time that I was like mindful on something. And for me, that was like a really good feeling.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what about this experience of learning to fly an airplane, do you think has just made you a better person?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, that's a very difficult question. I don't really know how to answer. I mean, in some way, I've learned a lot of things that I wouldn't learn if I didn't enroll in the course, like a lot of things that like engines and so on that they were so far apart from my world. Which from the other side, I don't think it made me a better person, but I think it made me think in a different perspective. It's really graphic, because if you're in the sky, you see everything really tiny, and you can see, as I told you before, like your troubles or your problems or your challenges are really tiny compared with, you know, how big the world is. And I don't think it made me a better person, but I think it made me realize or rethink how I faced my fears or challenges.
That's fantastic answer. So what's next for you? A drum set now that you have a house? Or?
No, luckily my dreams changed. I mean, I still want to fall in love. So if everyone is out there interested, but I mean, I have a dream that I have a dream. I want to, at some point, I want to merge two passions that I have. One is the one for photography. I really like it. And the other one is about styling. It's not about designing clothes or having a collection or being a designer, but the merge between stylism and photography, like trying to make something about that flows naturally from me. So I don't know how it's gonna turn up, but yeah, I think that's my next step.
That's pretty awesome. Well,
thank you very much.
Ana, thank you for sharing with me today. I'm excited from listening to you. Maybe I had to think about becoming a pilot. I don't know, but I think that's pretty awesome. I'm happy to share in your passion today, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for the invite. For everyone out there trying to chase the dreams, go ahead and do it. There's no time better than today. And thank you very much for listening.